I really liked your description of the transition from Daniels to Mung as being, and Mitch, of course, a big motorcycle guy, going from what, Harleys to Häagen-Dazs, since you love ice cream so much. Purdue University, powering forward. Mitch Daniels putting his Harley in park to make way for Mung Chiang and his passion for ice cream.
Well, I don't ride a bike, but I do eat a lot of ice cream.
The passing of the presidential baton at Purdue.
And to the man who will now, I promise you, take Purdue to places that no one else could. I pay tribute and say thanks, and I give you now the next president of Purdue, Dr. Mung Chiang.
It is the highest and most humbling honor to be selected by the Board of Trustees as the next president of Purdue University. This place, generations of Boilermakers, starting here on the Wabash and going all the way out to the surface of the moon. So many Boilermakers have been ever grateful, ever true to this special place.
Purdue's 13th president, Mung Chiang, wired with an engineering mind, a passion for research and technology, and a soft spot for ice cream. Hear his story on this edition of the Business and Beyond podcast. Hello and welcome to the 113th episode of the Business and Beyond podcast presented by PNC. I'm Gary Dick. Well, Mung Chiang's journey to president of Purdue University is quite a story. Born in China, he immigrated to the United States from Hong Kong, educated at Stanford and Princeton. But Mung's resume goes far beyond higher education. He holds 25 patents. He co-founded 3 startups and served as science and technology advisor to the U.S. Secretary of State. And I'm really pleased to be joined on the podcast this week by Purdue University's 13th president, Mung Chiang. And Mung, thanks for taking the time to join us. How are things in West Lafayette?
Oh, doing very well. Thank you, Gary. Good to be here.
A little over 3 months in, and you certainly hit the ground running. We'll talk about a number of the things you have going on there, but you're 3 months into your tenure as president. This is a job that comes with it, a lot of stress, a lot of work, and just a lot to it. Is there a favorite part, though? Is there something, it can be anything, your favorite part of being a university president?
Well, I'll give you 2 favorite parts. How about that? One is when our teams win, and we've won a lot. And 2 is when I wake up in the morning and I read our professors have carried out yet another breakthrough in research that's going to impact our society in a very long-lasting, positive way.
Those are 2 good things. Now, I have to ask you, unfortunately, because I certainly follow the Boilers, but how did you take the loss in the first round of the tournament? That had a lot of people that had their daubers down.
It was disappointing, and it was painful. But look, new day, new morning, new game, new season. And we always remember as well that our student athletes are outstanding students, outstanding athletes, outstanding Boilermakers. In fact, we're hosting a reception to thank both women's and men's basketball teams. And they gave us a lot to be proud of as well throughout the whole season. And by the way, isn't it nice that now Zach Edey has swept 6 out of 6 national year?
Yeah, indeed. And actually, I don't know if you saw it, but I did see something. They already have the odds out for the national champion next year in men's basketball, and Purdue's right in the mix, I think, among 5 teams among the top. So something to look forward to for next year.
Well, always we say one brick higher, and we always have to prepare like a paranoid, to play like the underdog, whatever the post says right now. And the women's team also, by the way, done a very nice job. Now, we're going to keep going and always be aiming higher.
Any surprises in your first few months on the job there?
Surprises? Well, because I'm not new to the university, and we've had a 6 months of transition time where I was the president. So I wouldn't say there's much of surprises. There's much to celebrate, a lot of joyful moments, a lot of great conversations with Boilermakers.
Yeah. Getting assimilated, as you said, you've been the dean of the School of Engineering there and headed up strategic efforts as well at Purdue. Getting assimilated, though, as a university president, you're at the Westwood, the president's home there, wife, 3 kids. And I think you're the first president, right, with kids at Westwood. How's that going?
Well, you got to ask them. I think they are doing well. I think they're doing well. And by the way, we just had a Easter egg hunt party last Sunday. Well, it's the week before Easter Sunday, but my wife, Kay, and I, along with outstanding staff leaders and a lot of student volunteers. So we hosted 100 families. These are faculty and staff of the university with young children. And we had a wonderful time. The weather was great, and they were doing Easter egg hunt. We had to do it in 2 rounds so that everybody got a chance to collect a lot of eggs. There's Purdue stickers in it. There's some candies, chocolate in it, and a lot of festivities, and that's all in Westwood. So it's a great community for families.
Yeah. Hey, events like that I know are fun, but in your role, there's also an element of work to that. You got to be on your game. What do you do to relax now as you're in your role as university president? Are there hobbies or things you do to just kind of, decompress?
Thank you, Gary, for reminding me that I also need to occasionally work. I thought it's all about, going to dinners and hosting parties and watching games. Those are work, by the way, Gary. That is my work. Well, we do a few other things as well, but we've got a great team to work together with. Now, as to my way to relax, well, I play with kids. Sometimes that's relaxing. Sometimes it's taxing. And by the way, I do some running myself. I'm going to do running along with the student leaders on the Day of Giving, which is the annual one day of the year where we particularly hope that many Boilermakers and fans will support our students and our operation to advance students' well-being here. So I'm going to be doing a fundraising run with a lot of students. I've been doing that when I was the Dean of Engineering College. We're going to do it this year at a bigger scale. So that's relaxing for me. In fact, that's going to be what they call inauguration day. Usually they have some ceremony of one type of another. I thought, running with students, that's ceremonial enough for me. And I also listen to music. Sometimes I listen to music while eating ice cream or other snacks at night. Some say it's not very healthy, just focus on the music. But, you ask me, how do I have some downtime? That's another part of that.
Yeah, and I know you're an ice cream aficionado. I'm going to ask you about that in a minute. But you were announced as Purdue's 13th president in June of last year. I believe it was June 10, to be exact. What do you remember about that day, or the day that you were told you're the guy, you're going to be the president of Purdue University? What do you remember about that?
Well, that day I remember, first of all, it's just such a huge honor. I would say the highest honor in higher education in America, because Purdue is very unique, unique in excellence at scale, unique in our values. Now, I do remember telling my kids that evening and responding to a lot of emails that evening. In fact, I think I responded well over 1,000 emails. It took me actually another 2 days, one by one, responding to the wonderful messages I got. And I remember telling our 3 kids, and the first one, eldest one, she insisted that was a beautiful mistake. So
a beautiful mistake. Huh?
There you go. There you go. She's in high school now.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. You had a transition time, certainly about 6 months of transition. You, of course, were at the university. I think you arrived at Purdue, in 2017?
Yes, indeed. 6 years ago. 6 years ago.
So you were no stranger to Purdue, but you had this transition, obviously worked closely with Mitch Daniels. Talk about your relationship with Mitch Daniels and how you would describe Mitch Daniels.
Well, Mitch is a transformational visionary leader, and he can do anything he picked to focus on to 100% excellence. I learned a lot from Mitch throughout the past 6 years, in particular during the second half of last year, where I had the chance to very closely learn from him during the transition time. And Purdue is very blessed to have had the Daniels decade, and we're honoring Mitch with the naming of the new School of Business as the Mitchell E. Daniels Jr. School of Business. I think people started to abbreviate it as DSB, the Daniels School of Business. Now, it's an exciting initiative for the whole university, and it's a very proper and fitting reflection of one of the many fundamental contributions that Mitch has given us.
Yeah, I remember you were nice enough to come on the show right after you officially took office. And
yes, first week, I remember, on your TV show.
Yeah, and I really liked your description of the transition from Daniels to Mung as being, and Mitch, of course, a big motorcycle guy, going from what, Harleys to Häagen-Dazs, since you love ice cream so much.
That's right. From Harley-Davidson to Häagen-Dazs, it is full continuity, but there is a bit of a discontinuity because I don't ride motorcycles, and you don't want to see me ride motorcycles. There's not enough insurance premium to pay for it on me or the bike, but otherwise it's full continuity. And it's been great to also just have the team here at Purdue. It's always the who before the what. That's what I learned serving in Washington, D.C., what I learned as a startup person, co-founder and the CEO of companies. That's what I learned, frankly, also as a professor. Whether it's teaching, you need a whole team, including TAs, teaching assistants, or research. You need your PhD students and postdocs. It's always about the whole team as well. And you want no beautiful mistakes when it comes to the who before the what. By the way, if any trustee of the university is listening to this, unlike me, you don't have to listen to my eldest child. Okay, ignore that. Ignore whatever she calls a beautiful mistake. It's not.
Hey, I've got to ask you too. So you like Häagen-Dazs? Do you have a favorite ice cream?
No, actually, I frequently visit a lot of the local shops here in West Lafayette, and there's some new ones open as well. And depending which shop and which brand, I have my favorite. And I'm a lazy person. I stick to the favorite. But the favorite varies from brand to brand, shop to shop, because they all sort of have their own specialties.
Well, do you have your own ice cream yet? Somebody up there is missing a big opportunity by putting your name on some ice cream.
Well, I don't know whether I need to give permission to use my name on it. There's the name and the image and likeness.
Right.
Ice cream. But I'll be very honored if there is some kind of a student competition with amazing departments and colleges that touch upon the production of ice cream and the delivery of ice cream services. So if there's any student competition, that I can participate, be a judge and a taste. What would it call those jobs? A test taster.
Yes.
Be honored. Purdue actually once had our own brand of ice cream, and some other Big Ten.
Okay. Penn State. I know Penn State's a big ice cream school. Yeah.
Don't worry, we're gonna beat them with our Purdue golden black flavors.
I like it. Hey, you mentioned, business startups. And I don't think a lot of people know that you bring that aspect to the job in a big way. You were involved in a number of startups. You have a number of patents. So you really have a business side to you. Talk about that, Mung, and your connection to business and innovation and entrepreneurship.
Well, Gary, first of all, entrepreneurship is a big deal here at Purdue. And one of the many transformations that Mitch provided us with is elevating, the whole startup side, the whole patent side. Now, on both fronts, creating a startup company or getting a intellectual property rights through the patent generation and licensing, Purdue has made some giant leaps over the past decade. For me, I I had a number of patents, I think most of which have been licensed by either my own startup companies or large companies. I'm a wireless network engineer, and my inventions were mostly in the communication network space. So great to see your invention, your algorithm, your system architecture embodied in a way that can become a patent and, more importantly, be licensed and used by the private sector in improving societal benefits. The other part is just generating a startup. Sometimes you say, you know what? I think we've got not only a patent here, we've got a potential business ideas. However, that is a very different game there. It's a tough one because you need to have a whole team. Again, the who before the what. You need a stable, experienced, complementary skill sets. It's not just the solution. It's not even just the problem. It's the ability to have the team that can pivot along the way. The PowerPoints will always be wrong. And every day as a startup, you got to be nimble, agile, got to be speedy and try to pivot your way through. And I'm proud to say that of the 3 startups that I had when I was at another university, my prior employer, as a faculty, I took some time off to do some startups. And the first one, I was the founding CEO, along with my former students, PhD students and postdocs. All 3 of them have become tenured professors at major U.S. research universities, engineering schools and business schools. But they all look back and say, you know, that was 1 year of doing startup and years before that to get it ready. We got investor money. We got the first set of customers. We put the team together. We're in a garage-like office space off of the main street. We pull the trash out every day ourselves, and we were worried every day. We tried to be nimble and take the technology to users. And we look back and say, well, now that company, which is still doing well, has served 60 million people, mostly in developing countries in Latin America and South America. And in that market of South America, there's a lot of digital divide. And our software and our design, our products help to bridge the digital divide in their 4G and 5G deployment and impacting tens of millions of people's lives in a positive way. And we said, look, it was great to do the research in our lab, the Princeton Edge Lab at that time. But isn't it cool? Isn't it nice that with all the hard work and the teamwork, we're able to actually translate that to change people's lives?
Yeah. Yeah. And I know your predecessor, Mitch Daniels, I used to make a point of that, I think frequently, that research is great, but what does it really mean unless it has an application, unless there is that commercialization aspect to it?
Look, again, we're not saying that excellence must be in one particular form. We understand most of the time, most of the professors, most of their work are not going to all become startups. Not all of them are going to impact 60 million people's lives. And however, if a portion of that gets the chance to make a difference in the deployment of those fundamental breakthroughs in research, that would be nice. Now, here at Purdue, we have some outstanding faculty members who have, through either patent licensing or their own startup creation, made even bigger, much bigger impact than the one I just described. And it also reinforced a research excellence viewpoint. And that is, when you have to touch reality of the world, then you can no longer make certain assumptions that maybe you could make in writing a research article, at least in my area. So the reality of deployment actually forced me and my students to be better fundamental researchers.
Yeah. You have a lot going on, certainly, and have already taken that head on in your brief time so far as Purdue president. One of them, which I think is fascinating in terms of what it will become and what shape it will take and the impact it can have on Indianapolis as well as the entire state of Indiana, and that's the new Purdue in Indianapolis. A big transformation of IUPUI with Indiana University, Indianapolis, and also Purdue, Indianapolis. And you have really been out front on that and your vision for what that can become. And that's a main part, a part of the West Lafayette campus existing in downtown Indianapolis, but also stretching 63 miles north to West Lafayette and this high tech, hard tech corridor. Talk about that vision and why you think it is something that really can happen.
Well, Gary, since our last conversation about 2.5 months ago, we've made further progress, both in terms of Indy and in terms of hard tech corridor for our state of Indiana. So in Indianapolis, there will be, as you said, Purdue University in Indianapolis. It's not a regional university. It is an essential and integral part of the future of Purdue's main campus. And we will be investing in and partnering with and be together, grow the technology industry in central Indiana. We'll be creating jobs and talents and knowledge, all three at the same time, at a scale with a quality and affordability second to none in the United States. And Indianapolis offers an urban campus setting that is uniquely beneficial to our future students and faculty. So very excited about that. And we're right now in early April in the middle of completing all the steps needed to make that a reality. Now, that becomes one key element. One could argue one bookend, and then the other bookend being West Lafayette, including Discovery Park District, where we're growing a lot of the private sector investment and creation of jobs. So in between, you've got the Lebanon Leap District. Mm-hmm. Now, Governor Holcomb or Secretary Chambers would be able to explain that way better than I could articulate. But there is major Eli Lilly investment already announced, and there's going to be the infrastructure to enable a lot of the tech industries to go there. So now you've got a whole straight line of 63 miles or so, and we call this the hard tech corridor because this is where the virtual and the physical meet and the atoms and the bytes meet, and hard tech means semiconductors and microelectronics. Hard tech means ag tech and biopharma manufacturing. Hard tech means transportation, aerospace, logistics. So you put those hard tech pillar industries together, it's going to create jobs and opportunities and will benefit universities like Purdue immensely, and we're here to contribute to make that a reality.
And you talk about that with a passion and a sense of urgency. So yes. This is something you don't see as kind of pie in the sky, if you will. This is something that you see, that you envision as happening, and you're ready to get rolling.
Well, the only pie in the sky are the aerospace industry's innovation, such as drones and eVTOLs and so on. Gary, look, this is happening. It has been happening over the past couple of years already. It's happening right now on the smart crossroads of America.
Yeah. As mentioned earlier, you were Dean of the College of Engineering there at Purdue, also for a year or so before you took the president's job, Executive Vice President for Strategic Initiatives. So you really had an up-close, hands-on perspective on Purdue's public-private partnerships at places like Discovery Park and the Aerospace District and those types of things. Now, great example of things going on at the West Lafayette campus, the Skywater Technology. You talk about semiconductors, that Skywater Technology investment, huge investment, lots of jobs. Talk about Discovery Park, because that continues. I've been reporting long enough. I remember when they broke ground for that a number of years ago, but that is becoming this hub for innovation and entrepreneurship.
Well, absolutely. We work closely with IEDC and, of course, Purdue Research Foundation and the mayors and the county commissioners. It is really a town-gown collaboration here. Discovery Park District in West Lafayette, there's a residential element where we do lab to life, cutting-edge solutions deployment, first in this smart city before any other places in America. For example, Ericsson Saab just announced they're going to do a 5G network for airport management at Purdue Airport. That's next door to the residential area. And then there is the tech park, if you will. And you mentioned, yes, Skywater Technologies announced they're going to build a $2 billion semiconductor fab right here. We've got Rolls-Royce doing a lot of the aerospace work here in their own investment. We've got Saab building the fuselage here. We've got MediaTek doing semiconductor. The list goes on and on. There are many others ranging from, food security and ag tech to hypersonics and semiconductors. So here's the beautiful part of it, Gary. Not only this creates jobs and opportunities, and Lafayette is now number one emerging housing market in the United States, but also it makes our professors' research more translatable. It makes our students' career trajectories even more exciting. And at the end of the day, you need to create jobs and talent at the same time. Without talents and workforce, jobs won't come here. But without jobs, talents will stay here. We need brain gain in our state of Indiana and well-paid jobs with a career trajectory ready. And at the same time, we need to produce the talent that's needed. So we're doing both, and we're doing the knowledge creation, because I believe that only through innovation can we change the economic equations. That's how we go by leaps and bounds into the future.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned all of the companies, the relationships that Purdue has with those companies. I know just recently Caterpillar announced they're putting an office there at Purdue to continue
yesterday.
That.
Yes, we had a ribbon cutting yesterday.
Yeah, that relationship. I mean, is that the future? Purdue has always had a big relationship with industry, but now physically locating on or near the campus, and that looks to only grow. So that relationship between university, the academic side, and the business community would seem to be really a big thing going forward.
Absolutely. I always say that, look, there are bigger fabs in semiconductor industry, but are they located on a university campus? So just picture this, right? You've got a student, she wakes up in the morning, turn right, you can go to take the semiconductor degrees program. It doesn't have to be a particular sector. And she turns right, she goes to take classes. And she turns left from her dorm. She could walk into these industry co-op internship opportunities. And then she's even more motivated to learn. And by the way, she's going to get so many outstanding job offers before even she graduates, right? And then imagine the professor, when they have their innovation in their labs, they can just walk down the street. It is a connected community of innovators to say, how about we collaborate and turn that fundamental research breakthrough into productivity? That's the beauty of this co-location and, if you will, densification of the connected tissue among talents of all kinds.
The CHIPS Act that I know was passed in Congress just a few months ago, and certainly some high-level Secretary of State and others visited Purdue as part of that. As part of the CHIPS Act, they're the anticipated connection, right, of these innovation hubs around the country. And I know there's a lot of interest, a lot of speculation that Indiana can indeed be one of these innovation hubs. Give us your perspective on that.
I was just at a dinner meeting with the governor and senator the other night. And of course, Senator Todd Young in particular was one of the co-sponsors of what became known and passed as the CHIPS and Science Act of 2022. And yes, so Indiana, we are number one in per capita manufacturing talents here, right? We have outstanding industries, those I mentioned, and many more, from biomedical devices to battery innovation and more. So we are in a prime position to be competing for those opportunities, public and private sectors. And by the way, we have, in this CHIPS Act, the semiconductor component itself, being a leading university in not only the United States, but among like-minded partners, countries as well. So we're in a great spot to take the CHIPS and CHIPS plus science to take it to the next level by contributing education and research and industry partners.
The story of your path to America, as well as Purdue, is a really good one. I want to dive into that after we take a break here, Mung, on the Business and Beyond podcast. Stay with us.
At PNC Bank, we're committed to making a difference in the lives of our customers and communities by helping them move forward financially. As a Main Street bank, we try to do right by our customers with every encounter. Our local teams offer personalized financial advice to help guide you in making the best decision. We're proud to be part of your community. PNC Bank. See how we can make a difference for you at pnc.com. Copyright 2022, the PNC Financial Services Group, Inc., all rights reserved.
Welcome back to the Business and Beyond podcast presented by PNC. My guest this week is Purdue University President Mung Chiang, the 13th president at Purdue. And Mung, your path to America, to Purdue, is really a great one. As mentioned earlier, you were born in China, immigrated to Hong Kong, then on to the United States. Give us a sample of what life was like for you growing up, in particular in China.
Well, it's quite clear that America is the greatest nation in human history. And as President Reagan said at Purdue in 1987, that you can learn a language and live in a country somewhere else or your whole life, and you may not become a person of that country, right? Illegally, you're the citizen. But here in America, anybody has that chance to become an American. And this is the greatest nation on the face of the earth and in the history of human being. So my family and I are very blessed to be an American, to be an American family and individually as Americans. And it ties right into what Purdue stands for, right? As a public land grant, we stand for excellence at scale. We stand for opportunities to uplift people's lives, no matter the varied backgrounds. We also, as a university, stands for freedom. And if you look at what makes Purdue University perhaps distinct in many ways, right, is the combination of that excellence at scale and the values of freedom that make Purdue particularly outstanding among many great learning institutions in the country. And I think that is just very, very blessed to be an American.
I wanted to ask you about that quickly. I know you got to run up against it here, but on the show, I know you were really passionate and wanted to make that point about your passion, your pride in being an American, how important that is to you.
Well, it's at the core. It's fundamental. A lot of immigrants, all right, not born in this country, but now proud to be Americans. They really appreciate how special, how unique this country is. And, we fly the American flag with great pride at our home. And now that's Westwood. And I always tell my children now, because they're born in New Jersey, the Jersey boys and Jersey girls, that, never take it for granted, right? Don't take it for granted. I know that I don't take it for granted, the freedom and the prosperity, the opportunity that this land provides. And never lose sight of that. And again, just proud to be a Boilermaker, proud to be an American.
Well, Mung Chiang, it has been a real treat to catch up with you. I know you've got to run to a meeting now, but do appreciate you taking the time. Appreciate your leadership as well, not only at Purdue, but for the state of Indiana. And as you have mentioned on this podcast and other places, a lot of potential is out there to grab. And I know Purdue and you will also play a big role in it. So thanks for joining us.
Well, Gary, anytime. Boiler up.
Okay. And thank you for joining us on this edition of the Business and Beyond podcast presented by PNC. It's a weekly conversation with achievers in business, sports, entertainment, and beyond. And you can download it at Apple or wherever you get your podcasts and get 24/7 business news at InsideIndianaBusiness.com. I'm Gary Dick. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.